You're gonna die. I don't want to do this.
Today's video, I will share with you the compilation I have made about all the people who will be on death row in the United States during this 2025. This is a topic that generates divided opinions, as it involves legal, ethical, and emotional aspects.
So, granted, 2025 has just started, guys. We are barely in February the 11th. So these are the murders that have taken place in 2025, which is a doggone shame.
We will treat it with the respect it deserves, always from a documentary approach and in line with YouTube's regulations. It is important to remember that capital punishment has been a central issue in discussions about justice in the United States. Although 23 states have abolished the death penalty, there are still 27 that maintain it, including the federal and military system. However, it is not applied arbitrarily. The U.S. Constitution, through the Eighth Amendment, prohibits cruel and unusual punishment, which limits the death penalty to very specific cases, such as aggravated murder committed by mentally competent adults.
Okay.
By 2025, 13 executions are scheduled in several states: Oklahoma, Texas, Alabama, Florida, South Carolina, and Ohio.
Texas keeps something going, don't they? Texas always has some drama. I'm from Texas, okay? I'm originally from Detroit, but Texas keeps some drama going.
This is why the people who will be executed this year are involved in macabre acts. Today, we will analyze their cases. Many of the people we will look at have spent decades awaiting their time of execution. In fact, the average time between a capital sentence and execution is 13 years.
Damn, 13 years. So that means if somebody killed your family member, they can still linger around for another 13 years in prison, getting a free cot and a meal.
Without further ado, let's begin. Marion Bowman Jr.
Mary.
State, South Carolina. Offenses: murder and arson in the third degree. Sentence: death penalty and 10 years in prison. Execution date: the 31st of January, 2025. On the 16th of February, 2001, when he was only 20 years old, Bowman got into an argument with Candy Louise Martin, a 21-year-old woman.
You arguing with a woman? You are arguing with a woman? Seriously?
Over a money debt. The situation got out of control, and he shot her several times in a wooded area.
Oh my God. Over some money. Okay. Walking away wasn't an option.
He then dragged her body, stuffed it into the trunk of a car, and
God.
drove it to a remote location where he set it on fire in an attempt to erase the evidence.
Okay, you doing too much. Slow down. You are doing too much.
This crime was not impulsive. He had already threatened Candy Louise hours earlier, telling her, "That bitch will be dead before nightfall."
Whoa.
James Taiwan Gadsden, Bowman's cousin, testified against him, claiming that he witnessed the murder.
You can't be telling family everything. As you can see, you can't tell family everything.
And that Bowman had planned the crime. After the act, Bowman even bragged about it in front of others. The evidence against him was overwhelming. The murder weapon was recovered from the river and linked to the case by ballistics and DNA evidence.
Why are you running your mouth about what you did? Why are you bragging on that? That ain't nothing to brag on.
In 2002, following the trial, Bowman was convicted and sentenced to death.
Good.
However, Bowman has always maintained his innocence, asserting that he is not guilty and would not claim to have done anything he did not do. His lawyers have argued that the state withheld key evidence, such as a memo suggesting that another witness had confessed to the shooting.
I just want to say, not everybody here, I believe, is guilty. But if you are guilty, you deserve to die.
In addition, they have pointed out that his defense was marked by racism, as his own attorney used terms that they claim negatively influenced the jury. Despite all these attempts, Bowman's appeals have been rejected again and again for more than 2 decades. In 2022, he exhausted his last chance when both the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals and the U.S. Supreme Court dismissed his requests.
Boom.
Marion Bowman Jr., 44, will be executed on the 31st of January, 2025.
Okay. That's a done deal
Stephen
already.
LaWayne Nelson,
Stephen.
State, Texas.
Okay. I told y'all. Texas is messy when it comes to criminals. Guys, we will burn you to the cross.
Accused of murder of Reverend Clint Dobson and assault on Judy Elliott.
Okay, you know you're going to hell. You murdered a reverend, okay? And I don't know who Judy is, but we about to find out. You murdered a reverend, okay? Your key to heaven has been revoked.
Sentence, death penalty.
Okay.
Scheduled execution date, the 5th of February. On the 3rd of
That's a
March,
wrap.
2011,
That's a
Stephen
wrap.
Nelson, 24, entered North Point Baptist Church in Arlington, Texas,
Uh-oh.
with the intent to rob.
That's down the street from where I live. I better be careful.
At the time, only the Reverend Clinton Dobson, 28, and Judy Elliott, 69, the church secretary, were on the premises. Nelson, who was on probation for a previous case of assault on his girlfriend, violently attacked them both,
So he got issues. That's obvious.
leaving a scene of terror and tragedy. Dobson, the church pastor, was brutally beaten and strangled with a computer cord.
Jesus.
Finally,
Okay, are they talking about that guy in the picture? That guy is huge. How you let somebody strangle you with a cord? The guy is massive.
Nelson suffocated the Reverend with a plastic bag, causing his death. Judy Elliott also suffered a devastating attack.
Sad.
She was beaten so severely that she suffered a brain hemorrhage, fractures to her face, and
God.
injuries to various parts of her body. Despite the severity of her injuries, Elliott managed to survive after extensive hospitalization and rehabilitation. After committing the crime, Nelson stole several items, including Dobson's laptop computer, Elliott's credit cards, and his car. He used the cards to purchase clothing and jewelry, and
So you're using the man's credit card. You're going into stores. I'm sure they have surveillance cameras. Okay? Dum-dum.
sold the computer for cash. Police quickly linked Nelson to the crime.
Really?
He was arrested after bloodstains on his shoes and fingerprints were found at the crime scene.
And you wore the same shoes. you got arrested and you had the same shoes on. Okay? Genius.
Nelson was charged with capital murder,
You
a
think?
crime that in Texas can carry the death penalty. Although another man was initially arrested, the charges against him were dropped. Stephen LaWayne Nelson, 37, will be executed on the 5th of February, 2025.
That's a wrap. That date is a wrap.
Demetrius Terrence,
Come on,
State.
Demetrius.
Alabama,
Whew.
accused of
Thank God it's not in Texas again.
rape and murder of Pauline Brown.
Okay, you got to rape people now? Come on now. Come on, Demetrius.
Sentence, death penalty. Scheduled execution date, the 6th of February,
That's a
2025.
That date is a wrap. That date has gone and passed.
On the 27th of November, 1991, Frazier committed a robbery at the apartment of 40-year-old Pauline Starks Brown in Birmingham, Alabama. After entering her home, Frazier woke her up, demanded money, and raped her at gunpoint.
A sicko. A sicko. Okay, Demetrius, don't you got a mama? Don't you got a sister or a niece? Would you like somebody to do that to your family members?
After shooting her, Brown begged for her life, but Frazier killed her and stole her money.
Oh my God.
Later, on the 8th of March, 1992, in Detroit, Michigan, Frazier killed 14-year-old Crystal Kendrick in
Another baby killed. For what reason?
an attempted rape. Frazier confined her in an abandoned house and shot her when she tried to escape.
God.
Frazier was subsequently arrested in Michigan, where he confessed to the murder of both victims.
But at least he confessed. I'll give him that.
He was convicted of the 1996 murder of Pauline Brown in Alabama and the 1993 murder of Crystal Kendrick in Michigan. In addition, he faced multiple charges of rape and robbery. As a result, he received a death sentence in Alabama.
The brother has issues. If he did it, he deserves everything he's getting.
And a life sentence in Michigan
Good.
for the crimes committed in that state.
Good.
Frazier has appealed his death sentence multiple times without success.
Again, why are you appealing stuff? You said you did it, now you want to appeal.
The court rejected his appeals.
Good.
And in 2011 he was transferred to Holman Correctional Center in Alabama, where he has been on death row ever since.
Good.
In 2018, Frazier chose to be executed by nitrogen hypoxia, a method Alabama has adopted as an alternative to lethal injection.
All right.
This will be the fourth execution by this method in Alabama, following 3 previous executions in 2024.
All right.
Demetrius Terrence Frazier, 52, will be executed on the 6th of February, 2025.
That date has come, and gone.
James Dennis Ford,
Come on, James.
State, Florida,
Florida.
accused of murder, child abuse.
I'm about to get pissed, James. I'm about to get pissed. What kind of sicko crap have you done?
Sentence, death penalty.
Exactly.
Scheduled execution date, the 13th of February,
All right.
2025. In
You sneeze and that date is here already.
1997, Ford, who worked with Greg Malnory on a Charlotte County farm, invited Greg and his wife, Kimberly Malnory, on a fishing trip before committing the crimes. Greg Malnory was shot in the head with a .22 caliber rifle, but did not die instantly. Ford struck him repeatedly with an axe, causing devastating wounds, and then slit his throat.
Terrible.
Kimberly Malnory also suffered multiple blows to the head, one of which penetrated her skull and showed signs of defense on her arms. Forensic reports confirmed the brutality of the crime and revealed that Kimberly was raped before she was murdered.
This guy is sick. He's sick. He needs some help. He needs some help. Bad.
DNA testing confirmed the presence of Ford's semen on the victim's clothing.
Boom.
In addition, the investigation revealed that Ford used the rifle to assault Kimberly, going so far as to insert the barrel into her mouth before shooting her.
This dude is sick. He needs some help bad. He is sick.
Court documents also exposed a heartbreaking fact. The Malnory's 22-month-old daughter was left in the couple's van for more than 18 hours.
Jesus Christ. You gonna bring the baby into this? You could have dropped the baby off anywhere. Or at least put the baby somewhere where somebody might find it sooner than 18 hours. You sick.
Exposed to the elements and covered in her mother's blood.
Oh my God.
Ford was convicted of the murders, sexual assault, and child abuse.
God.
The brutality of the case and the vulnerability of the baby further compounded his crimes. Despite his multiple appeals, the court upheld his death sentence in 1999,
Good.
and he has remained on death row in Florida State Prison ever since.
Okay.
In recent years, the application of capital punishment in Florida has been variable. In 2024, only 1 execution was carried out, in contrast to the 6 carried out in 2023.
What's going on, Florida? What's that all about?
However, Governor Ron DeSantis signed Ford's execution warrant,
Good.
marking the end of a period of inactivity in the state.
Good.
Ford will be the first to face the death penalty this year.
Good.
James Ford, 64, will be executed on the 13th of February,
Yes.
2025. Richard Lee Tabler,
Richard.
State, Texas.
We back in Texas again. What's up with Texas? We getting a bad rep.
Accused of multiple murder.
This dude is sick.
Sentence, death penalty.
Yes.
Scheduled execution date,
Boom.
the 13th of February,
Boom.
2025.
Boom.
In November 2004, in Killeen, Texas, Richard Lee Tabler murdered Mohammed Ramouni, a nightclub manager, and his friend Zayed.
What?
Tabler, along with his accomplice Timothy Doan, summoned Ramouni under the pretext of selling him sound equipment. Upon arriving at the location, they ambushed him. They first shot Zayed and then Ramouni, who was even shot a second time as he was being pulled out of the car.
This man was just trying to run a business, okay? He wanted some sound equipment and he ran across two crazies, two cray-crays.
After the double homicide, Tabler stole Ramouni's wallet and items from the vehicle, while Payne recorded the crimes with a video camera. Tabler
Okay. Your accomplice is videotaping this, okay? Idiot. Idiot.
then called the police to take responsibility and threatened more murders. 2 days later, on the 28th of November, Richard Lee Tabler murdered Amanda Benefield and Tiffany Lorraine.
So they going on a killing spree. They going on a killing spree.
2 teenage girls who worked at the same strip club. He selected them from a list of employees he planned to kill, believing they had implicated him in the previous murders. Tabler continued to call police to taunt them and make new threats. He was initially arrested on unrelated charges, but soon became a suspect in the murders. Although he confessed to the crimes after his capture, he later recanted and denied committing them. Despite his change of story, the jury found him guilty of all 4 murders.
Good.
His brutality, disregard for life, and constant threats marked him as a highly dangerous individual. His violent behavior in prison also influenced his death sentence in
Seems like he's in the right place. Okay, this guy is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and he's an idiot. And the guy he was with is an idiot too. Video recording this? Are you crazy? Taking the man's credit cards? So all this could be tracked back to y'all? 2 dummies.
2007. Richard Lee Tabler, 45, will be executed on the 13th of February, 2025.
There you go. There you
David Leonard Wood, State, Texas.
go. Oh my God, not Texas again. What's going on with Texas? Okay, y'all making Texas a scary place.
Accused, murders of at least 6 women in El Paso,
my-
Texas.
oh my God.
Sentence, death penalty.
Yep.
Scheduled execution date,
Boom.
the 13th of March,
Boom. March.
2000
March should be here before you know it.
2004. In 1976, Wood was arrested and convicted of indecency with a minor, receiving a
God.
5-year prison sentence, of which he served approximately 2 years before being released in 1978. In 1980, he committed 2 rapes in El Paso, one against a 19-year-old woman and another against a 13-year-old girl. For these offenses, he was sentenced to 20 years in prison, but served only 6 years before being released on parole in 1987.
The man got issues. The man got issues.
After his release, he began working at a furniture store in El Paso.
Okay.
In 1987, 9 women disappeared in El Paso, ranging in age from 13 to 24.
9 women. 9 women. If he has something to do with any of these women, he need to get the death penalty.
On the 23rd of October of that same year, Wood was arrested for the kidnapping and rape of Kelling. His arrest led police to discover more bodies and obtain circumstantial evidence, such as fibers that matched those of the victims, as well as testimony from other inmates who claimed Wood bragged about his crimes.
Why you go to jail and start running your mouth? That's what I don't understand. Why do you go to jail and start flapping your gums? Keep your mouth shut.
He was charged with the murders of several women,
Good.
although the fate of some victims remains unclear. During his trial, which was moved to Dallas because of media coverage in El Paso, Wood insisted on his innocence. In 1992, he was convicted of 6 murders and sentenced to death. Despite his attempts to delay the trial, the verdict was clear, and on the 14th of January, 1993, he received the death sentence.
Okay.
David Leonard Wood, 67, will be executed on the 13th of March, 2025.
That's next week. That's next week. If you did it, you need to go. Bye.
Wendell Arden Grissom,
Wendell.
State, Oklahoma.
Ooh.
Accused
I thought y'all was gonna say Texas again. I'm like, I was gonna get pissed. I'm tired of y'all talking about my state. Okay, Oklahoma.
of murder and attempted murder. Sentence: death penalty.
Exactly.
Scheduled execution date: the 20th of March, 2025.
All right. We
In
right
November
here.
2005, in Blaine County, Oklahoma, Wendell Grissom and Johns, after drinking whiskey and discussing burglary plans, randomly chose a house to burglarize. Upon breaking into the residence, they encountered Drew Kopp, who was in the house with his 2 daughters, and
my
their
God.
friend, Amber Matthews. Although Kopp attempted to negotiate, Grissom shot him in the head.
Jesus.
Matthews, attempting to escape with a baby, was struck by Grissom, who shot her in the back of the head and then in the forehead.
Oh my God.
After the murder, Grissom and Johns fled in a vehicle they found in the garage and were arrested at a nearby convenience store. At trial, Grissom was convicted of first-degree murder,
Good.
attempted murder, and other charges.
Good.
Amber Matthews, 23, died while trying to protect the children,
So-
adding further tragedy to the crime.
If you did this, especially if those children were involved, you deserve it. You deserve the death penalty today.
Johns was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of
Good.
parole. Grissom's execution is scheduled for the 20th of March, 2025,
Good.
with a clemency hearing scheduled for the 5th of February.
Goodbye.
His attorneys will argue that he suffers from brain damage that affects his behavior.
Bye bye.
Moises Sandoval Mendoza,
Come on now.
State, Texas, accused of capital
Come on, y'all. We got this much drama going on in the state of Texas?
murder.
Murdering people.
Sentence: death penalty.
Oh,
Scheduled execution date: the 23rd of April,
okay.
2025.
All right.
On the 18th of March, 2004, in Collin County, Texas, Moises Sandoval Mendoza murdered a 20-year-old woman by strangling her.
What?
After the crime, he moved her body to a field behind his house, where he left it for several days. He was later questioned by the police, but instead of cooperating, he took the body to a well in a rural area, set it on fire, and buried it under brush.
This is what you call a lazy criminal. You did this to this young lady and then you just threw her in your backyard, okay? I guess the smell started getting too bad and you said, hey, I think I need to move her. And then you moved her and burned her, okay? Something wrong with you.
On the 23rd of June, 2005, Mendoza was convicted of capital murder, and the jury recommended the death penalty based on the
Good.
evidence presented.
Bye.
The conviction was affirmed by the Texas
you
Criminal
smiling?
Court on the 5th
What you smiling for? You about to be out of here. What are you smiling for? Okay.
of November, 2008. Despite appeals, on the 10th of June, 2009, his appeals were dismissed and the
Good.
sentence was affirmed.
Bye-bye.
Mendoza is currently awaiting execution, although his case could be affected by possible appeals and clemency appeals.
I pray now.
Moises Sandoval Mendoza, 40, will be executed on the 23rd of April,
Good.
2025.
Good.
Percy Hutton,
Come on, Percy.
State, Ohio,
Ohio.
accused of capital murder.
Oh my God. Here we go.
Sentence: death penalty.
Boom.
Scheduled execution date: the 18th of June,
Okay.
2025.
Okay.
In September 1985, Percy Hutton was close friends with Mitchell and Samuel Simmons, Jr., until he believed he had been robbed. Hutton threatened to kill both men if he discovered they were involved in the robbery. On the 16th of September, 1985, Hutton, accompanied by his brother-in-law Bruce Laster, drove to Samuel's house. After confronting Samuel and Mitchell about the stolen machine and tires, Hutton drove them to a parking lot where he shot Samuel twice in the head. Samuel survived and attempted to seek help. Hutton later returned and falsely claimed that an unknown man had shot Samuel, taking
So he already trying to blame the attempted murder on somebody else. Okay.
him to the hospital. Mitchell was later found dead with the same caliber bullet used against Samuel. Percy Hutton turned himself into
What he smiling about? Why are you smiling? You about to be out of here.
police on the 5th of October, 1985, after being charged with the murder of 24-year-old Derek Mitchell in Cleveland, Ohio, on the 16th of September, 1985. Although the defense argued that Hutton was in Indianapolis at the time of Mitchell's death, he was sentenced to death. Initially, his execution was scheduled for the 22nd of June, 2022. However, due to difficulties in finding the necessary drugs for the execution, the governor, Mike DeWine, decided to postpone it. After
Wait a minute. Y'all can't find the drugs? You can't find the drugs throughout the United States. Hell, go to another country and buy the drugs over there. You can't find the drugs to execute this idiot.
spending 35 years on death row, Hutton's execution is now scheduled for the 18th of June, 2025. Percy Hutton, 63, will be executed on the 18th of June, 2025.
Hell, go get the drugs from Texas. They killing people left and right over there. Go get the drugs from Texas.
Samuel Moreland,
Come on, Sam.
State, Ohio, accused of multiple murder.
Ooh, multiple murders.
Sentence: death penalty.
Boom. There you go.
Scheduled execution date:
Yeah,
the 30th of July, 2025.
right around the corner.
On the evening of the 1st of November, 1985, Tia Talbot returned home from shopping to find a devastating scene. Inside the family home located on South Ardmore Ave, she discovered the lifeless bodies of Glenna Green, 46, Lana Green, 23, Datrin Talbot, 7, Datwan Talbot, 6, and Voilana Green, also 6.
Okay, I'm getting sick. Okay, why did you do this to a mother and her children? Something wrong with you. Who raised you? You know, didn't you have a mother? Didn't you have sisters and brothers? I mean, come on, auntie, somebody. You doing this to women and children? Something's wrong.
All had been brutally murdered by Samuel Moreland.
For what?
In addition, 3 other children present in the home had been violently attacked, beaten, and/or shot,
For what?
left in agony with the intention that they would not survive.
And you did this to 3 other children inside the house. Beat them so bad, shot one of them, thinking that they would not survive. You're a sicko.
Shortly thereafter, Samuel Moreland returned to the scene of the crime and was immediately arrested by
Big dummy. Biggest dummy of the century.
the police. During the search, officers found a blood-stained $20 bill in his pocket, as well as gunshot residue on his hands. However, although the evidence suggested his involvement, there was no conclusive evidence to determine whether he had recently fired a gun. In 1986,
So you just walk around with gunshot residue on your hands. Okay? You wake up in the morning and say, I'm gonna put some gunshot residue on my hands. Instead of lotion, I'm gonna use the gunshot residue. What?
A jury convicted him, and he
Good.
was sentenced to death.
Good.
Over the following decades, his attorneys filed multiple appeals at the state and federal level,
What?
all of which were rejected.
Good.
Finally, after exhausting all legal avenues, the Ohio Supreme Court has scheduled his execution in 2025.
Good.
His legal team has taken the case to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, arguing that violations of his client's fundamental rights have been committed. Samuel Moreland, 63, will be executed on the 30th of July, 2025.
Bye-bye.
Douglas Coley,
Come on, Doug.
State,
What you
Ohio,
do? Okay. Ohio.
accused of murder and aggravated kidnapping. Sentence, death penalty.
What's up with that?
Scheduled execution date,
All right.
the 24th of September. In December 1996, Douglas Coley and his accomplice Joseph Green kidnapped, robbed, and attempted to murder David Moore in Toledo.
For what?
After accosting Moore as he was unloading his car, they forced him into their vehicle, stole money from him, and drove him to an isolated field, where Coley shot him several times.
For what? Some senseless stuff. Time after time after time. Some senseless stuff.
Moore, pretending to be dead, managed to escape and call for help.
Good. Good.
Police found evidence, including shell casings matching Coley's gun, and a stolen Ford Taurus that had previously been seen by a relative of the defendants, connecting the criminals to the crime.
So they found some shell casings that matched his gun. Okay. He's in the middle of the woods. Didn't he not think that police will be searching for those shell casings? Okay. Another genius on the radar, guys.
Samar L. Oakty was found dead at the hands of Douglas Coley on the 7th of January, 1997, after disappearing on the 3rd of January. Police traced her movements to that day, but were unable to determine with certainty her abduction. Following his disappearance, family and friends distributed flyers and hired a private detective. L. Oakty's car was spotted on several occasions, and police discovered a stolen Pontiac 6000 linked to the case.
Wow.
The investigation led to the arrest of Green and Coley, who were
Good.
charged with kidnapping, robbery, and murder.
Good.
The evidence against him includes witness testimony, the recovery of the stolen vehicle with false plates, possession of the victim's purse, and the matching of the weapon used in both crimes.
So this big dummy took her purse and still had it in his possession when the cops found him. Okay. Oh my God. These guys ain't playing with a full deck.
With the one found in his possession. Despite attempts to appeal, his execution is still scheduled.
What are you appealing? They found her purse on you, on your person. What are you appealing?
Douglas Coley, 49, will be executed on the 24th of September,
Goodbye.
2025.
Bye-bye.
Timothy Coleman,
All right,
State,
Tim.
Ohio,
All right.
accused of aggravated murder. Sentence, death penalty.
Boom.
Execution date, the 30th of October, 2025.
Boom.
In January 1996, Melinda Stevens was shot and killed by Timothy Coleman
For what? Come on, Tim. For what? Why did you need to do this?
in an alley behind Riddle's Ribs in Springfield, Ohio. Stevens, who had worked as a confidential informant for the police, had made controlled drug purchases from Coleman. After being arrested for drug trafficking, Coleman expressed anger at Stevens, whom he blamed for his arrest. In a conversation with his cellmate, Coleman admitted that he planned to get revenge on her. In his statement, Coleman initially denied involvement in the murder, but later admitted to shooting Stevens.
Why do these criminals run their mouth to other people? Why? Why are you running your mouth about what your plans are?
According to his account, after leaving the restaurant with Stevens, he killed her at point-blank range, shooting her twice in the back of the head. The investigation revealed that the weapon used was an automatic or semi-automatic pistol, model Colt or Davis P-380, and that the wounds were fatal. Police found shell casings and evidence at the crime scene, but did not recover the murder weapon. On the 17th of January, 1996, a grand jury indicted Coleman for aggravated murder and for committing the crime to prevent Stevens from testifying at his drug trial. In March 1996, he was formally indicted, and, after a trial, the jury found him guilty on all charges, recommending the death penalty.
Goodbye.
Timothy Coleman, 56, will be executed on the 30th of October, 2025.
All right.
Kareem M. Jackson,
Come on, Kareem.
State, Ohio.
Okay.
Offenses:
What's going on in Ohio? Ohio and Texas we got some crazy people living there.
multiple murder, robbery. Sentence: death penalty.
Boom. There you go.
Execution date:
Boom.
rescheduled for the 10th of December,
Rescheduled.
2025.
Man, if I had a family member and I was waiting for somebody to get executed and it was rescheduled, I would be pissed. I would be pissed.
On the 25th of March, 1997, Kareem Jackson, along with an accomplice, hatched a plan to rob an apartment in Columbus, Ohio. They were joined by two other men, Michael Patterson and Derek Boone,
Okay, so now we got a couple of dummies trying to rob somebody.
and a woman who was the group's driver.
Oh my
They
God.
drove to the apartment of the victims, Antonio Hunter and Terrence Walker.
So I'm believing she thinks, oh, I'm just a driver. Nothing ever happened to me. If they get caught, they're not going to give me any time. Crazy.
After Jackson entered, Terrence greeted Jackson by name, recognizing him. Meanwhile, the two victims were forced to confront the intruders, who were looking for drugs and money. The accomplices broke into the house armed with shotguns and began searching the apartment. During this time, Jackson beat Becky Lewis and threatened her life. Subsequently, Jackson took Becky into the kitchen, while Patterson and Little B exited the apartment,
Little
leaving
B?
Jackson and Boone
Okay, y'all didn't tell me Little B was going to be there.
inside. The victims, Antonio and Terrence, were forced to lie face down on the living room floor.
Horrible.
Although they tried to plead for their lives, Jackson ordered them killed, stating that because they knew his name, he must kill them. Both men were executed.
Sad.
In the apartment were two women, who managed to escape when they thought it was safe, and upon discovering the bodies, went to a nearby apartment to call the police.
Boom.
Police developed a sketch of an accomplice, who turned himself in shortly thereafter. In his statement, the accomplice identified Jackson as one of the perpetrators. Kareem M. Jackson, 51, will be executed on the 10th of December,
Boom.
2025.
There you go.
And with that, we have presented the compilation of all the people who will be visiting death row in 2025.
They hate you. You're gonna die. I don't want to do this.